Okay, and we are live. Welcome to the Vortex Energy Podcast. Very excited today because this is where we interview interesting people who have a great story about their healing or how they help heal other people here at the Vortex Energy Podcast. And today, I am very pleased to have Brenda Lainof with us. I met Brenda through a conference, healing summit that Judy Anderson had done. And what attracted me first to Brenda was her interest in the light language. And Brenda's going to tell us her story about how she was working in the corporate world for 3 decades, struggled with many health issues that ultimately affected her career, relationships, and life in general. That sounds familiar to me, boy, those of you who know my story. From being on disability, multiple surgeries, and near-death experiences, something had to change. It was her near-death experience with cardiac arrest when Brenda knew, without a doubt, she had to make some dramatic changes in her life. And sometimes it takes a huge hit by the universe to make you listen. Isn't that the case, Brenda? So welcome to the Vortex Energy Podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today and talk about light language or whatever we're guided to in the call. So thank you.
Yeah, so why don't we start with, I want to dive a bit more into your story about how all this happened, because we were chatting a little bit as we were prepping for the call here about some major trauma that happened in your life and that brought you to this type of healing that you do now.
I think many of us don't realize that we're very intuitive. And I was working in the corporate world literally for decades, and I kept having health issues. It's like, why? Like, what's going on? Why is this continually happening? And it was when I had my cardiac arrest, and it was like the universe is like, come on, get with the program, just step up and step up. And I don't suggest for anyone that they have to go through something so drastic. But honestly, I've had 3 times of where, medically I should have been gone, and here I am. And so I really have stepped up, and I just encourage people to do the same. With sometimes the universe does push us in a certain direction, and sometimes we need to have those hits, and it's not easy, but I have to tell you the strength that comes from that, I feel very, very strong right now. So
yeah. And what brought about the were you healed from traditional medicine after your heart attack, or is there something else that to lead to your eventual complete healing? How did that, what was that process like?
Well, I was encouraged to have to look to see if my ovary was cancerous. And I just had a real ominous feeling that when I was to go in for that day procedure, just to see if it's cancerous, I had this really, really heavy heart. And it was just like this heaviness. So yes, they put me under anesthesia. And then, of course, you wake up. And the nurse said to me, do you know what happened? You had a cardiac arrest, and we're going to move you into the cardiac unit.
Yeah.
It was just like, I can't comprehend this. I'm to come in for the day to check if my ovary was cancerous, which it wasn't, but it was come in for the day to see if it was cancerous. And now I'm in the cardiac unit. Like, what that is going on?
Yeah.
So I had this experience, and every time I tell it, I relived that, and I just want to tell you what happened. So the nurses were really, really nice and sweet, and they took me up and so concerned, and because I'm in shock. It's like, what do you mean I had a cardiac arrest? And I remember that night looking at the clock, and I guess it was 3 a.m. is what I should say. It was 3 a.m. because there's this clock in front of me on the wall. Here I am in my, white gown for the hospital. And there was this lady standing beside me, and she said, this wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And she was so sweet. She was so nice. And I was just like really warm and fuzzy and so concerning. Wow, it was like somebody turned on off the switch, because the next morning they could hardly wait to get rid of me. They wanted to move me, get me out of the room to a different ward. I had the doctor come in with her students, up and coming cardiologist. And it was just like they're trying to point the finger to me that I created it. It was my fault, because I happened to say
Oh no.
that I at one point in time was on like hormone pills. Like, really? And I wasn't even on them at that time, but they were looking for every possible thing. Bottom line, they were concerned about a lawsuit. So this is what I found out not too long afterwards. And that was explained to me by another medical person. So it was after I came out of that whole incident, I'm back on our acreage. Now, we had an acreage out of the city, and I live in an area called Calgary, Alberta, very, very close to the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
And I remember, just because I was really full of energy after this experience, like I was so full of energy. And this sounds kind of crazy, but I'm just going to tell the story. We had 2 miniature donkeys at the time. My husband is gone. He's in Arizona in the States to a football game. I'm there feeling like a real little farmer. I'm going to pitch some hay to my donkeys. And this moose, now Canada has big moose. This moose is up in the trees. It decides it's going to charge me because it wants the hay I'm going to give to the donkeys. Well, moose are really big animals, and you don't challenge a moose. Well, it pissed me off. I just came out of a cardiac arrest. Like, don't mess around with me. But I had to run in the house because I'm just being chased by this moose. So I run into them in the house. I slam the door. And I'm going, damn that moose. How dare you? So you know what I do? I come back out again.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's run up in the trees. Come out again. I thought, I'm going to pretend I didn't even see it. Here I am, like out of a Western movie. I'm getting the hay. I'm going to pitch the hay to the donkey. Charge me again. And I thought, Brenda, what are you doing? Like, this is nuts. And I can tell you that I wouldn't have had that same response months earlier. Like, honestly, like I felt like this energy, and I remember feeling like it was this bear energy just came into me at that time. So that seemed to be the further push into the energy work that I'm doing now. So I'm doing corporate and I'm doing this energy work. And then, things happen. And 3 years later, almost to the day, February the 14th, I had another situation happen. Broke my hip, shattered my right elbow. I've got pins in here and plates. Falling on the ice at a dog park. And they just about lost me in the surgery. And because my blood pressure had gone so high. And not to make this sound like a victim story, where I'm going with this is that after that happened, I'm going, okay, there's other things going on. Throughout that process of where they just about lost me, they did another further investigation. They found I had a tumor the size of an orange on my little tiny left adrenal. Most people die from that because they have a heart, they die from a cardiac arrest. So it was very unusual for them to find that. So I became a test study. There's like, wow, we got this lady who's alive. We're going to follow her. That required another surgery a month later.
Yeah.
So in between these two times in February, March, April 19, I thought, okay, you know what? I talk about light language. I'm scared. I don't know if I'm going to make it because they couldn't keep things under control. Barely kept me the last 2 surgeries. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. I thought, forget it, I'm jumping in. And I thought, oh, this might sound crazy and people might think I'm crazy. I don't care. So I created a, Facebook group, and I started just rambling with my little, recorder. And I remember before I went in for this final surgery to remove this tumor, I was so scared, and I thought I just need to get it out. So I remember just opening up, channeling. And then I was like, I felt, this again is going to sound crazy, but I felt like my mother was communicating with me, and who had crossed over decades before. And it was like and the sound came out. It was just like kind of like smart. This is how I felt, interpretation in my head. Smarten up, you're going to be okay. Just relax. You're just going to be fine. You're over, she was really giving me crap. So I was just like, oh, wow. Okay. And I felt so much
So
calmer.
hang on, one question. Was that for you a voice you heard, an auditory sound, or a visual?
It was from me. It came out of my voice.
Okay.
And my immediate sense, it was my mother channeling through. I was channeling her. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, that makes
And I
perfect sense,
kept
actually.
it,
All
and
right.
I was just like, but honestly, it just calmed me down. And so by the time I went for this surgery, and even they didn't know if I was going to make it, if they could keep my, my blood pressure under control. But I just thought, let go, let God, and okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I did my best, and it was my time to go. It was my time to go. So I, kind of prepared for that, going, well, okay, I better give my passwords to my husband, and maybe prepare what could be.
Yeah.
Of course, it was a possibility, but so they were shocked. They were shocked I made that one. So yes, 3 times. And so here I am. And my big thing is like, what I like to do is help other people step out. Because we know that there's no guarantee for tomorrow, but there really is no guarantee for tomorrow, because that's for sure the truth. And when you come so close, we've all had our close times, and you could be driving and you go, my God, I can't believe, that nothing happened. I mean, but it gave me that further push. And then with this whole COVID, what we experienced here in Canada, it's just like really stepping out, really helping myself and others with all of the trauma, including PTSD, all of the negative adverse effects from the jabs, and so forth. So
yeah, I think we were chatting about that as well. Even though here in Tasmania we were really relatively free to move around during COVID, we didn't go off the island, and nobody came in from the island, but we had supplies, we had food, we had toilet paper, we had everything. We could go out to restaurants, we could pretty much do everything. So I didn't personally get to experience it, but every time I visit any of these places or the States or anywhere, I can still feel that residual trauma of everybody. And I talked to someone in Victoria, and they're just, it's still very, very heavy. So I don't know do you have a process to help people deal with that residual PTSD that they may not even know that they have?
Well, this is a good question, because I automatically, as we were talking prior, I'm thinking, we can have a wall around our heart, and that could be due to the PTSD. So there can be several emotions that comprise that heart wall. And when you determine intuit what the emotion is, then I go through a process and we clear it energetically. And what's so great about a heart wall is that people visualize what that looks like for them. It's just not me, saying it's this, and that. I mean, I'll intuit what it is. But when we clear it, people saying, no, my heart wall's only 3 feet high and 2 feet. Before it was way up there, but no, I can see it, and it's reduced inside. It's very visual.
Okay,
So it's
yes, your process
great.
is a bit different than my partner Sue's process. Grandmother Sue works a lot with the heart energy, and it's usually about expanding it to open it. So people who close
Right.
their heart and aren't using both sides of the heart, both the masculine and feminine side. So your
Mm.
process is a bit different, and I believe you've got something coming up soon regarding the heart wall as
Well,
well.
I do. So I thought,
Tell
well,
us a little bit about that. Yeah.
it's February the 14th, and I thought, which is the date that I had my big accident 3 years ago. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to open it up, and people want to come in on Facebook. What I'll do is work with a few people in chat, and I'm going to have them, we're going to talk about the heart wall, and I'll be intuiting what emotions, what came up, when did it come up. The thing is that we can hold on to things, as I know you know, but that could be generational, or maybe we're picking up from the collective.
Yeah.
We don't know it. You're traveling to the US, you're feeling this heaviness. Believe me, if you came to my country, you'd feel it too. So it's when you get out of that, then you're like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah.
I envy that feeling. Um, but to take people through the process, that the heart wall is very, very good. I have been trained in this for approximately 15 years by Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is a chiropractor by background. And so it's great work for people that aren't familiar with the energy work. I would suggest, if you're curious, definitely pop in. And then of course you can go to my website and book a 30-minute session as well, or an hour session, whatever you feel guided to. Lots of options, but yeah, it's a very cool process. And again, it's not that I'm saying all these things. When you tell me what your heart wall looks like, because we can put a wall around our heart because we've been hurt. Maybe you've been your relationship ended. Perhaps somebody fired you at work. Maybe you've lost a sibling, a family friend, due to what's happened the last 3 years, 2.5 years, or whatever it is. Like, people are passing away. That's the reality. And people are having heart issues. So you can combine a heart wall with the energetics. Is what percentage is your heart functioning out of 100%? Is it in balance? Is there
Yeah.
some congestion to the heart? So, and then there's many ways that you could work with the heart. So I think that's a really important thing. And due to the amount of heart issues that are happening right now, due to the jabs, and I will say that because I don't believe they're true vaccinations, and I will say that that this is a serious issue,
Yeah.
very serious issue.
Yeah, it's clearly affected everyone, whether everyone who's on the planet. Children were
Yes.
born during the last 2 years. I didn't realize how traumatic that was for the mothers and fathers of children born in the last 2 years, with such trauma around the hospitals and around sequestering and who's allowed to visit and when and how that all works. So
Exactly.
even the newborns, I don't know if you have any thought on the newborns that have come out and have been born in the last couple of years during the lockdowns. I don't know if
Yeah,
anything is coming to you on that
I
along those
can
lines.
I can just tell you for my province, I'm going to see my province alone. Information is being buried. And I know this. The government has buried information. They don't want you to know that every time that you take a further vaccination, there's what's happening. It's being
Yeah, I don't
buried.
think they have any
And
clue, to be honest with you. And
well, the government has information. In fact, I have graphs, and I have that information as of 2 nights ago. And it's been taken down because it hasn't gone
I
the
was
way
just
that
going to say, I don't want to
we believe.
dive deep into that today so that we can stay live, but I do want to talk about how you would help heal someone who has been through that trauma, whether it's now showing deeply inside the body or whether it's as a mental trauma as part of PTSD of the whole experience.
Well, a lot of the times what I've found when somebody has gone through this, their soul may not be attached.
Mm.
It's very important on an energetic level to bring the soul back into the body. And I found that a lot of people are detached.
Mm. Yeah, that makes a lot of
That's
sense, actually.
number one. Number two, I would be testing the levels of toxicity in the
Mm.
body. Definitely toxicity, checking the organs and glands, see what percentage they're functioning at. So what I do within a session, I'll go through and muscle test, what is the heart, the upper colon, lower colon, transverse, etc. Ask those questions. Is there anything affected, affecting these particular organs and glands? There's a priority. It could be, and that gives me a good sense of where to go. And then I ask, well, what's the priority of all of these organs and glands that we need to look at? Is it maybe the thyroid that's only functioning at 36%? And
Yeah.
then asking the question, is that related to, or maybe it's not related to COVID or all those, just in general. So
Yeah.
I go to where I'm guided to go. I'm a medical intuitive as well. So, there's a lot of areas you end up combining it. So you've got the spiritual work on an energetic level. I mean, it's not me. I'm calling on assistance from from Creator. And this is what we do. It's like in prayer. I've been taught by Dr. Bradley Nelson, who's a religious person. So this isn't anything that's, unchristian or, 'cause there can be some derogatory mindsets about anything like this.
And you just hit on a word that I know I wanted to dive deep in with you, is those questions of mindset and the collection of limiting beliefs that everybody holds on to, a whole series of limiting beliefs. Do you want to dive into a bit into that question about how people can help clear that whole series or collection of limiting beliefs?
What I've been learning lately is that we are linked to many, many programs. We could be unconsciously linked to the pharmaceutical program, the medical program, the educational program, so many programs that we are totally not aware of. And the more that we can unravel from those programs, the more we can open up and more information will come in. So it's just like we are just born into all these programs unknowingly. And then our ancestors are also attached to these programs.
Yeah.
How the banking system is, how the educational system is, how, so many levels of programs that you just are totally unaware of.
Well, I
So
think too, all of our ancestors, I don't care where you came from, they had very different lives than we have. They didn't have smartphones that told you everything that was happening in the world, what the stock price and the weather is, and look up how do you spell this word, and you actually get free giant internet courses from the best universities for free today online.
yes, it's amazing.
We have access to so many tools. Most people still have a roof over their heads. I shouldn't say it's not
Yeah,
everybody, but it was not common not that long ago. Our own ancestors, many of them really
exactly.
struggled with poverty and with massive
Absolutely.
challenges. And we're not even talking about our own past lives where through many centuries there were again so many traumas and different ways of living. It wasn't normal to have heat in every room in your house, you know.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just go back to my grandparents who immigrated from, different parts of the world, and they just came to the United States and moved out to Canada looking for that land so they could farm. They were given so much land to farm. And my father, who passed away just 3 years ago, literally took a horse and buggy to school. I mean, it's amazing. And it's so interesting. Here is a man who took a horse and buggy to school, and towards the end of his life was like on his laptop. I mean,
Yeah,
it's simply amazing what within your lifetime
yeah.
of the technology and where we're at now. It's mind blowing. I can't even imagine with this AI and everything that's coming out right now. It's where we're going to be. It's, I have a sense we're going to come back to more simpler times. And
Well,
I think this whole thing of where they're concerned about food, which is ridiculous because we're in a land of plenty. Believe me, where I live at, there's no need for that. But say there, is for whatever reason, I sense that we're going to see smaller community, people who are sharing. Maybe somebody's really good at sewing, somebody's really good at doing energy Reiki or your energy
yeah.
work, and someone who's very good. There's a little church that they have their gatherings over here. Everybody has their gifts, and that's where we were. That's where we were in society. It could be decades ago. Those memories, ancestral memories, could still be in your blueprint. And when I
Well,
do my
maybe
past
that's what
life,
called me, one of the things that called me to move from the densest population state in America, which is New Jersey, and outside the New York
ah,
region, just outside the New York region, to move to
yeah,
the least populated density here in Tasmania comparatively, and a tiny, tiny little town, and we live off the grid with, we grow a lot of our own food, and it's, we're just talking, Sue's outside, actually in the rain, unfortunately, getting a load of wood to help us prep for winter, which is coming. But being from Canada,
yeah.
you would understand that.
Well, I've been to New Jersey. In fact, my husband's from New Jersey, so
Oh, there you go.
I know exactly what you're saying. Um, yeah, I understand that, and I have a sense that this is what could be happening, and
Yeah, and it's
I
really
think we need
fulfilling. Our little town is growing by leaps and bounds because people are saying, "Oh my God, there's a real community here," and people
yeah,
actually smile and wave in the street. And
right,
I was laughing the other day. There's who bought, how many acres he bought? 50 acres, and he's been growing. He's got some sheep and a couple cows, and he's got his tractors. He likes his tractors, and I could see some kids were on just a little four-wheel drive thing, and I was waving to the kids as I drove by. And then I saw him a couple days later, and he said, Mike, they were his grandchildren. And I knew they had to be somebody because they wouldn't be on an ATV there, someone I didn't
right,
recognize. And again,
right.
everybody in the area, everybody
Yeah,
who's from there. And he said, why would they wave to me? They don't know me. And I was like, well, he's like, people here. If you're local,
yeah.
so
Wow,
it was
and
fun to see
that's
that.
that's
Yeah.
how I grew up. I mean, I grew up on a farm in Alberta, and this is how we grew up, a small, a farm. How much smaller can you get than a farm? So, yeah, it's in me. I find it's, even though I live currently in a small space, I've got my little tower garden, and I get excited when I don't know if you know what those are or not, but I got so many things in one tower. It's amazing. And I get so excited. I'm going, oh my God, my cucumber grew another inch overnight.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I can see where this is going to, a sample of self-sufficiency of where we're heading. This is just a tiny pebble of where we are heading, and what we may already have that memories of previous lifetimes or generational memories in our DNA. And so
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
we tap into that, maybe it will, like you said, you just feel so much better and lighter. And I mean, that's I give you a lot of credit for just moving to another part of the world like that and doing what you're doing. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, it's been very fulfilling. It really has. But I
Yeah.
wanted to come back to you on this. So, you worked through massive physical trauma and had to get through a lot of healing process on your own, and have adapted these teachings from a number of teachers. What was the greatest spiritual lesson in all of this for you?
Um, I think the biggest spiritual lesson for me is that I have to trust myself, and I didn't. And it's trusting in your guidance, trusting in that, how they say your internal GPS, but it's trusting in messages that you receive, from creator, from God, however you refer that to. So
Yeah.
to me, it's just like, no, I'm very intuitive, or why would I be doing this? Of course I am. And using that as an understanding and appreciating what a gift that is. like it's a huge gift. It can be very cumbersome at times because you go like, you walk into maybe wherever, a store, a crowded place, and you just like, how do we get outside? You know, it can be heavy that way. At the same time, it's a gift. And when you can pick up on other people's emotions, and then you can help them move through what they're going through in so many levels that could be on a psychological level. Maybe there's some OCD or, you know, some physical issues, and in a combination to maybe they're on some medications that are helping them, but you're also working at a level where on an energetic level, maybe you can help release some trapped emotions that could help them maybe lessen in time some of the medication or whatever. There's just so many ways that we can integrate what we already have, the good nutrition from your wherever, the food, on a spiritual level, a psychological, mental, physical. There's all these layers, and blending this together.
Yeah.
So it's really trusting what you feel, what you intuit. And I think as society, we've been told we're not definitely told we're not powerful. Absolutely. And also we're to shut down, follow the system. You're told to do this, you're told to do that. And that's all there is to it. And if you step out of line, there could be consequences, which I do see today.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts and a bit about your healing process and how you came to being who you are today. But we're going to dive into some really quick questions now. Are you ready, Brenda?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So what is consciousness for you?
What is consciousness for me? I'm going to say that consciousness to me is really trusting where I'm at right now at this moment. It's what my awareness is of me and the world around me. So it's my awareness of myself, my inner guidance. That's my consciousness.
Great. And what is your definition of God?
I believe that we're all part of the collective. We all have a piece of God in us. We're not necessarily separated from God because we're all together. God created us. So how can we be separate? It doesn't make sense to me. So we are all part of the collective. So God is also within us. It's just not separate from us. And I think that's a difficult one for probably most of us because we have been told it's separate.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it is.
I agree with you. Yeah. And Brenda, where do you feel most at peace with yourself?
To be honest, doing what I do, I feel, well, definitely out in nature. Okay, number one, I love getting out in nature. I love animals. And I think a lot of us that are empath spiritual people, we love our animals. Definitely being out in nature and doing what I do. This is what I do. I couldn't imagine not being in the position that I'm in, that I created to help other people's, not only in their health, but in their business.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, I've got like 3 decades of working. How does that separate from the spiritual work? Well, no, you can absolutely help people on the spiritual path and create a healthy business. I was just thinking the other day, we were talking about the heart, and I was thinking, I think what we should do is do a heart wall as to your business. So I'm thinking I might just promote that, and maybe I'll do that in another call, or obviously, with people if anybody's interested. But I know honestly without hesitation why I'm here. And it's taken me a long time to truly believe it. And I think that's why so many things had to happen. but I really shouldn't have been here according to the medical world. And so I'm here for a reason. So I know that I have to do what I'm doing, which I love to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what does your spiritual practice look like on a daily basis? Do you have
Well,
a morning routine or a daily routine?
I have to say that sometimes I get caught up on my phone, checking on things, and then I'll go, okay, Brenda, put it aside. I need to put it aside. And then I start going through a process of I just need to clear out, my negative thoughts. So I do work on myself. I can, checking if what have I absorbed? Am I sharing an emotion? Am I picking up anything from the TV that I just watched a few minutes ago? Have there been any saboteur energies sent to me?
Mm,
I will mention, and this is a big part, and a subject a lot of people don't want to look at are entities. It's big. It's a big thing to acknowledge. They're there. We are in a spiritual war, and people can get attacked.
yeah,
That's just the way it is. But having the knowledge and learning and teaching others of, okay, well, this is what maybe you can do to help alleviate that. Or, there's raising your energy, strengthening your chakra, increasing your vibration. So,
yeah,
there's the way, and it's never like 100% foolproof. I don't believe that, but it's helping. And honestly, connecting with other people is so huge. Women is kind of the natural thing to do, I think, for the most part. But when we have, thank goodness, the internet and Zoom, and I have friends in Australia to Ireland to South Africa, and just knowing that how easy we are at this time, how lucky we are that
yeah,
if we need support, like it, not in a competition way, but just, hey, this is going on, that we can share that and support one another, because we need that. We
yeah,
need
absolutely.
we need to feel safe to reach out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really important to feel safe.
yeah. So Brenda, you've actually had at least one near-death experience. What do you think happens when we die?
I feel that when we die, I do feel that a lot of, I do feel like we're going to be able to look into our past lives, our present life, and see different pieces that maybe there might be some regrets. And this is where I'm thinking, even for myself, and this is a daily thing, I need to work on forgiveness. So I'm sensing that when we die, these flashes will come forward, and it's there to put it to our face that this is something that we need to forgive. And even when you cross over, you can still do your work. When I
Yeah,
do some of my sessions, I'm working with people that have crossed over and relaying messages, and it's really cool when that happens. I usually get a sense and a shiver in my body, and it's just helping, because people who have crossed over also need help.
mm,
And when we can clear out what may be they're holding on to, maybe it's they're not forgiving or
yeah,
whatever that is, it's going to help us on earth within this timeline. So forgiveness is really, really important. And like I say, that's something that I'm working on myself, because nothing would be worse than having those regrets as you're laying there, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, like, oh, okay, what about this person, that person? And just like, just letting go, like God. So,
yeah,
I don't know for sure. But I know that when I didn't cross over completely, I came back much stronger.
mm,
So,
That's
Absolutely.
interesting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. As I said earlier, you do not challenge a moose. I mean, just Google a picture of a Canadian moose. I'm just telling you.
I don't think Australians realize how big a
I
moose
know.
is. Can you
What can you?
in
Well,
meters give
and
them an
then
idea
people,
of how big your
and then
moose was?
and people said, "Well, Brent, it was a female moose. Like it should make any difference." Okay, it's a female moose. I don't care. It was big, and it was way bigger than me, and it was like it was charging. So, but I can tell you what, it was funny because we were on an acreage at that time. I'm not right now, but I would tell my neighbors because I thought it was a great story. They said, "Brenda, do you know what a moose can do?" It's like, I don't know. What can a moose do? Brenda, they can break down doors.
Yeah.
They can
They'll
actually,
be-
they're so strong, and you do not want to hit one on the highway. So it's just like, wow, I really pushed my limits with this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but they're big. I don't know. You just go Google, go Google a Canadian moose.
Well, I'm going to say about 9 feet tall. Would that sound about right? I don't even
That
know.
probably, and I was encouraged many years ago, and I was doing more public speaking. One lady said, "Brenda, I told a story about the moose on stage. She says, "Brenda, I got a title for your book. Screw you, moose." I thought, if I ever write a chapter for a
That's,
book, this
yeah,
is in the back of my mind. I've got the title, I've got the picture, I got the whole thing. So if anybody wants, a chapter in their book, I'm signing up. Because
and
it was a very significant and
yeah,
symbolism. It was
yeah,
symbolism big to me. And it's just like, why did that happen after I came home from cardiac arrest? Like
yeah,
it was within a month.
yeah. That's a riot.
It
Well,
was
let's
just,
really appreciate your talk today, Brenda. Tell us what's the best way for people to reach you who want more info.
well, they can reach me. They can email me. I'm very personal that way. And you can definitely email me at Lainof Brenda 49@gmail.com. That's LAINOF Brenda 49@gmail.com. Then my website, you're welcome to check it out. It's Brenda Lainof with one F.com.
Yeah, I had to just double check that myself today. One F in Brenda Lainof. So that's great. I'm going to put that in the
Yeah.
description. You'll all see that so that you can click on her link. I've used Brenda personally to help with my healing journey over the past few months. So this is really why I wanted her to come on to share a bit of her story. And I do have a couple more quick questions for you. Can you finish these sentences for me, Brenda? You ready?
Okay.
You ready? The world
Yes.
needs.
More kindness,
Nice. I believe in.
manifestation,
Love is.
loving ourselves.
I would like to thank.
My parents for doing the best that they could with the knowledge and wisdom that they had.
I am ready to forgive.
I'm ready to forgive myself for not believing I was worthy and deserving.
I want my legacy to be.
A caring, giving soul.
Well, that was awesome. I really appreciate your time today, Brenda. That was an amazing conversation. And I invite you all to check her out. That link for her Heart Center chat. What do you call it? Heart wall
A heart wall.
conversation? Heart wall.
I'm doing a heart wall. It's on Zoom. I'll be
Yeah.
choosing from the
Which
ones
will
that
be
I
the
can
14th
to.
for Brenda, so the 15th for
Yeah.
Aussies. So check the time, check the link, and I really appreciate you coming on today, Brenda.
Thank
Any
you.
last parting words you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm just going to say, be kind to yourself, and I did mean that, because we're so hard on ourselves. I think most of us are, and
Yeah.
we're not listening to what our heart is speaking to us, and that's the truth. I don't think we've been conditioned to really being kind to ourselves. So I'm just going to say, be kind to you. And when we're kind to ourselves, you're going to exuberate that. people are going to be drawn to you. It's going to help you with your relationships. It's going to help you as to your business, attracting the right people in your life. But you got to love yourself. And I know it's a journey, but it can be done.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Brenda, and hope
Thank
to chat
you.
with you soon.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.